Welcome to the Wealth Genius Podcast, brought to you by the Expand Wealth Real Estate Fund. Expand your wealth by investing in apartment buildings. Go to expandwealthfund.com to book your info session. The Wealth Genius Podcast, strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The Wealth Genius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
Okay, well, we'll officially start it now. Yeah. We are rolling. Calvin, look, I went to your event, and I was so impressed in the quality of people that you attracted and the quality of event that you put together. For me, in my mind, when we were there, I'm like, you're going to be here, and I needed to have you on this podcast because I think our audience needs to know, first of all, who are the players, and you are a real estate agent in one of the hottest markets in all of Canada, right? So definitely you're a person of interest. And so thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. You flew all the way down from Edmonton. Did you arrive yesterday?
We did. We arrived yesterday morning. I wanted to get a full day in, and I haven't not experienced turbulence coming into Toronto yet. I don't know what it is, but it's like it just shakes you and gets you ready for the big city. So I'm ready to go. It'll be a great weekend.
Yeah, and it will be a great weekend. You have a few different speaking spots, and I know you're going to be bringing value to our members, and so I appreciate that. I want to know a little bit more about you, how things started for you. How did you get into real estate in the first place? And, pretty much, what inspires you and what drives you? Because anybody can be a real estate agent, but I think you go above and beyond to add so much value to people that there has to be like something else. There's something that you have a powerful why, or you're determined, what is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I also love hearing about how people started in real estate, and I think a lot of us got started, very similar in the beginning. And I grew up in a family that didn't make a lot of income. We didn't. My biggest goal when I was 3 years old was to go to Disneyland.
Wow. I
turned 4 and I asked my mom, "Hey, can we go to Disneyland?" And she said no. And then I turned 5, "Can we go to Disneyland?" No. Turned 6 and she said, "Wait till you're 10 years old so you remember it, and then we'll go to Disneyland." 10 years old came, didn't go to Disneyland. 11 years old. It took me to 30 years old to go to Disneyland. Anyways. And
I resonate with that. My mom told me, if you're good this year, we'll take you to Disneyland. That was a good bet on my mom's side.
Yeah, that's fair.
She just didn't have the money.
Yeah, exactly. And so I knew that, and I didn't grow up in a bad, family or a bad household or anything by that means, but financially we weren't in a position where I was able to do much else outside of the sports that I was engaging in. And I knew I wanted to have more freedom. I didn't want to be in this tight lane of restricted lifestyle growing up, and I didn't want to have to stay in that lane until I was 70 to be able to get off that lane. You know what I mean? Until I could pull over and actually enjoy life, right? And when a lot of people do that, a lot of people stay on that lane and they're forced to be in this strict, rigid structure. And then finally when they're 70, they get to enjoy life. That's not enjoying life to me, and I knew that early on. So I got into stocks, which was one of the worst things I've ever done. And I lost a lot of money. And then I got into looking into mutual funds. Maybe I didn't need to be more conservative. And I never really found that bridge or that vehicle to get me to that financial goal that I wanted to achieve at a young age. This is at the age of like 18 to 20. And then when I was right before 21, I had my best friend call me and he said, "Hey, I just bought another house." And he bought the house right next to him. And at that point, when you're 21 years old, you're thinking, is this going to be like a party house? Is this our weekend house? Because that's kind of what you think of as a younger age. And he's like, "No, I'm actually going to rent it out and I'll see a net positive cash flow of $300 a month. And I also see the benefits of mortgage pay down." And I started diving into it. And I was like, you know what? This makes more sense to me than anything else that I ever thought about. And I didn't grow up in a household that invested in real estate. I had probably the only family that didn't have a realtor in the family. So I knew nothing about real estate. If you would have asked me what a property manager was when I was that age, I couldn't tell you the answer, truthfully. Yeah. So I started out literally probably like 6 feet below everybody else, or very similar to many other people that just didn't grow up in that household. And so that year I made a goal to buy my first property, and I ended up buying one of my neighbor's properties off market. I overspent on it. I made every single mistake in the book. I just found out 3 years after that investment that I did a BRRRR, without knowing I did a BRRRR strategy on it. And I literally made every single failure that you can account for in real estate. But I knew I was going to make it better. I knew my second one was going to get a little bit better, right? And so my second investment, the BRRRR wasn't so bad. Again, I still didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know it was a BRRRR. I also didn't know that there was communities like Wealth Genius, like, you know, all these other real estate communities that can actually teach you this stuff. I didn't know there was real estate books. I didn't find that out until 5 years after I was investing.
Wow.
And then, you know, a good 8 years into investing, and this is me outside of I used to be a regional manager at a health club in Alberta. And so I'd work 10 hours and then everything would be outside of that. I would do my own renovations. I would learn how to hang cabinets, all that stuff, because I had this drive that I didn't want to provide this lifestyle that I received, which wasn't terrible, to my kids. And I didn't want to have that rigid lane, like I was talking about, where I could finally get off and enjoy life at the age of 70. Like, unfortunately, a lot of people have to do, right? Or are forced to in some cases. And so after 8 years of investing, I was like, you know what? I'm more passionate about my side job than I am my career. And it's time to make the change. So I banked my vacation for an entire year, which allowed me 6 months of float getting into real estate, because we know you don't make money like that on your first day. It's not, you don't get a paycheck after 2 weeks when you're in real estate, especially as a realtor. You have to produce, but it takes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months sometimes to get your first transactions. And so I was lucky enough that I got my first transaction within my first 45 days.
Wow.
And then it went from there. But it really came from the core of, like, I have all these mistakes under my belt. I've made a good foundation. I know what to do. And so I went right into the investment world. And then I realized after 6 months of being in the investment world as a realtor that this carries over to primary. There's a lot of people that buy primary homes that want to know it's a good investment, because a lot of times it's their second property and they want to get into their final home, and they want to buy somewhere that's going to be in a good appreciation zone, that's near good schools, that's good near infrastructure, that's going to help support the value of their home over the long term. Right? And what does the exit plan look for them? So I was like, hey, I actually have a bit of an advantage here where I can take the investment world, help the primary, and it's been fantastic. It's completed, you know, it gives me a competitive edge, you know, especially early on in my career. And so that really helped fast track it. And then from there, I just noticed that there was lots of little voids. And I think this is something that you've done really well too, Alfonso, is you look back, and instead of looking at any industry from, you know, 50 feet away, you really got to get in the helicopter, go 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 feet away and look at voids. What are some of the voids that are missing in the investment community? There's a lot of people that are still like what I was like when I was 21 that don't have any idea that there's communities like this to help support you. There's coaches, there's lots of books. I mean, it's kind of crazy now in a day to think that there's not that, but I mean, there are some people out there that just don't know what's available to them. And so that's why we've created, you know, conferences like Recon. That's why we do a lot of investor events. That's why we fly all over Canada to help support and educate investors. And we don't charge for the education. We generally just want to help. And if you choose to use us at the end of the day and invest in Edmonton, then fantastic. But I come from the fitness industry of helping people. And I think naturally you just like helping people as well. Your battery gets charged by helping people.
I feed my soul.
That's right. You can sleep better at night if you can help one or two people during the day. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be talking to the Starbucks person. They can ask you, hey, can you tell me about home prices? You know, if I can help them and give them a good tip, I know that I'm living my life's purpose, and I truly feel like I'm on track. I could see that, you know.
There's a lot of realtors out there, but not everyone's going to want to put in the time or the investment to put on a conference, right? And I know how much work that goes into it. I mean, you know, we put on 2 a year, and some people say, Alfonso, you're crazy. Usually conferences are once a year. You know, we do 2 a year, and it's because I want to give massive value to our community, and I think you're that person as well. I mean, all the work, all the thing that went into Recon, like I was telling you, like I could see how much work went into it and how much you care. And you know, where does that come from? Like, because one, yes, I know you want to help. I know you want to help someone, but like you to over deliver on value consistently. Where does that come from?
I think you said it. It's like you got to figure out what feeds your soul, and everybody's different. Right? Like everybody's different. Not everybody's going to get the same fulfillment that we get in a day. But I think you need to try and test out and figure out what your what you feel like your purpose is. And you need to reflect to figure out where you're the most grateful. You know, where are you able to use your superpowers or your strengths? And I'm lucky enough where I feel like I'm on track. And there's so many other things that we're looking at accomplishing and big changes for 2025. And I'm really excited about it. It genuinely brings me excitement. Yeah. And if it didn't bring me excitement and it brought me exhaustion and it brought me these negative feelings, then I knew that maybe I was off track. You know, I use the idea of like being on the highway and you have the rumble strips, right? And life gives you rumble strips, and rumble strips are like excessive stress, lack of sleep, lack of energy. So when you're feeling the rumble strips, sometimes it's a reminder to get back on track. What's your end goal, right? What's that North Star? And get refocused, because everybody is going to hit the rumble strips.
Well,
sometimes
I was going to ask you that, you know, it looks like you're like, you know, highly engaged and like really care about your business. You have a team, you have this, you know, Recon Conference, all of these things that you do. But I look at you, you look like in good shape. You know what I mean? So you obviously have not put health on the shelf in exchange of building your business, which I know a lot of people do. Is that what brings you energy? Is that like a priority for you? And how do you, for the people that are listening, how do you continue to make it a priority in your life?
I can tell you honestly, in the last 3 months, I haven't been putting it as much as a priority, but the last 2 weeks I have been, and it actually took a serious chronic injury for me to get back on track, where I couldn't walk for 3 days because of back pain. Literally 3 days.
So you're one of those guys that can take 3 months off and you still look like.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Because you look like I got, you know, this is my 3 months off.
Yeah. I actually paid Dan, the videographer, to edit my appearance. So it's just a filter on here. So if you see me in person, I don't look like this. He put a filter over me to give me the you know, the Iron Man body. So thank you, Dan. No, and it's a reminder that it's easy to get off track. I have 2 very energetic dogs at home, and if I don't walk them first thing in the morning and when I'm 6 p.m., I pay for it.
Wow,
I pay for it with them running around the house and destroying stuff. Yeah. So they force me to stay athletic. And honestly, my body breaking down and having 3 days of not being mobile. You would look, if you saw me in a parking lot from behind, you'd think I was 100 years old on how I was walking a couple weeks ago. And that was my body's reminder of, hey, you better get back on track. But I think it's important, like, now that I'm getting back into it, and again, it was like 3 months there where I went off the rails, and I'll be honest, like, I'll be vulnerable, right? It's times in life where you get really busy, and sometimes the things that help with your energy get put on the back burner. And then things like this are a reminder to get back on track. So it absolutely does make a big, big difference. You have to prioritize yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, how the hell are you going to take care of someone else at the end of the day?
Exactly. I believe it. I want to change gears a little bit. I want to talk about Alberta, you know, the hottest market in all of Canada. And where do you see the market going? And what are some of the trends that you see in Alberta? You know, and what's some of the best markets that you see?
Mm-hmm. I do believe there's lots of runway left. Right now, we're at 2%, slightly less than 2% for vacancy, and so it technically puts us in a housing crisis. Right now, it is hard to find a place to tenant, or it's hard to find a vacant unit. Mm-hmm. They think it's going to take about 4 years to be able to catch up with creating enough housing to supply the demand. Now, if migration continues at the same rate, and we've been seeing some record-breaking numbers with population, Edmonton's one of the fastest-growing cities in Canada.
Wow.
And there's a lot of people that are continuing to come in, and Edmonton's creating this infrastructure like additional transit, additional communities. We're not next to the ocean, so we can sprawl out. We can sprawl out northwest, east, south, and accommodate that. And one thing the city's done really well is they've allowed less red tape so we can build at a much faster rate. So when it comes to like development,
God bless Alberta. Let's go.
It's been really good. Honestly, it's the best I've ever seen it. It's the best I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
In respect to the numbers that you can achieve.
Well, you guys were in a recession for a while, right?
Yeah. Well, we're known as very flat in many cases, right? And we'll see little dips, but we're very in the most part, we're pretty consistent. And, there was, a good 8 years where we were just good. We were just like, you can buy a house worth $400,000 and you can expect $400 of cash flow. Now you can buy that same house for maybe $430,000 and expect $700 in cash flow. So it's the numbers, it's like a perfect beast for investment right now because interest rates are on a decline. I do expect if I were to look through my, my magic 8 ball, that we're going to probably see another rate reduction. And I think we're going to maintain probably some kind of consistency going into 2025. Rental prices, I do think are going to marginally go up a little bit, not too much more. And it's going to offer investors that much more of a return. And because the city's trying to catch up for the demand, the developments that we're seeing, and especially with the MLI Select program that's offered to investors now, where you can literally pay 5 or 7.5% down on a 6 unit, 8 unit, 10 unit. We're selling a 38 unit right now. That allows investors that normally would never be able to consider a commercial building because they have to put down 25 or 30% depending on the performance of the building. They can now put 5 or 7.5% down. The demand in that sector is massive.
Wow.
So those that are normally investing in single family detached that have $80,000 to $100,000 to invest are now looking at these larger developments because it's available to them. And you want to, I recommend it if it fits your investment goals, take advantage of it. I don't think it's going to last forever.
I think it's a great way for even young people to get involved in real estate. They don't need a lot of space. They don't have a big family at that point, and they can buy one like an 8-plex, and have the tenants help you pay down some of the mortgage. You live in one of the units, and you build up equity while you still have your career, and eventually get your dream home or whatnot, and keep that asset. Borrow
That's
the
right.
equity out and buy your dream home.
So you can absolutely house hack it, where you live in either the basement or the main floor, and what you're making off of the other 7 units, if we're referencing an 8-plex, will pay for. It'll subsidize all your expenses. You can essentially live for free. Imagine that.
Wow.
I mean, I think more than ever,
It's a great way to start, like a small family, right?
That's right. How many people right now, home ownership, I think, is at an all-time low, right? I think less people are wanting to own and more people are wanting to rent.
Because they see it like a big monster, right? Like
They do.
They see like 400, 500,000, 600,000. In some cases, in some places in Canada, you'll see like $1 million, right, for a starter home. Like for someone that is 22 years old, you're thinking to yourself, like, that's unattainable for me, right? I bought my first house at 21, and I remember my down payment was about $10,000, and that's like, to me, to have to come up with $10,000 at 21 years old, I was like, whoa, that was like the world to me. Some of these young people would have to come up with $100,000 to get into the game. That feels like it will never happen for you, right? And you can see how a lot of young people today just simply exclude themselves from the conversation. I think this way of having the investment self-fund itself, right? Having, support, mortgage support, and you can squeeze yourself in there. Maybe it's a larger deal, 8-plex, but 8-plex, we're not talking about, $10 million here. How much is roughly these 8-plexes
between 2 and 2.3 typically,
and 5% down? That's about
5, and it's 5. Most builders actually want 7.5%. So even though MLI will allow you
because
to,
of fees or whatnot or any
exactly, but between 5 and 7.5 is typical. For what you'd be able to get into these buildings. So you're looking at about 150.
Yeah, so that would be what someone would have to put together to buy a condo in Toronto, for example. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, you have 8 units, and that's a great way for someone to start a small family.
Well, think about, like, you could either go down path A or path B. So you can buy a property that's worth, say, 1.2 in a larger city, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to get the benefits of lifestyle, location, and everything. Now, what if you maybe tried a different technique? Instead of buying that, you ended up buying an asset that was cash flowing, where the tenants paid down your mortgage, and you use that money to buy an 8-unit building.
Yeah.
So then you rent out the entire 8-unit building. You're cash flowing around $1,700 a month. You get the mortgage pay down. You get the tax benefits as well, right? And you get the appreciation. And then after a year, you save all that cash flow and maybe some of the earnings you make, and you buy another building. Maybe it's not as big, maybe it's another one. And in 5 years, you literally can get to a position where you're making an extra $5,000 in cash flow.
Not including the refis.
That's right. So you could either be in plan A, where it's all about lifestyle, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I have friends that are like, I don't want to invest. I'd rather just buy this really fancy penthouse. I just want to enjoy it. But if your financial goals are to achieve more and your job from 9 to 5, 9 to 7, whatever it is not going to help you get there, maybe look at plan B that might actually get you that financial freedom, because it's there for you. You have those options, and they've never made it easier to invest outside of your backyard, right? Like we talk about the Alberta advantage, which I'll be speaking more on stage tomorrow about, but there's no rent. There's no, you can raise rent as much as you possibly need to
Whatever
be able
the
to
market
keep up
can bear.
There's no rent cap. There's no land transfer tax. There's no PST. So it makes it easier. And we actually have the trades to do the work that are relatively loyal as well, which can be very, very difficult. So, it's kind of like this perfect opportunity to be able to look into the Alberta market. And the one thing I like the most is, depending on your appetite, there's something there for you. Whether you want to get into a townhouse that's only going to cost you, say, $30,000 to be able to get in, because you can get townhouses for $120,000, right? Buy that, rent it out, make $300 in cash flow. Or you can go with something larger as well. I see it as like an a la carte menu. Yeah. And so there's options for you to be able to get in.
Love it. Any particular markets that you would say that to be on the lookout for in Alberta? Other than Edmonton, of course, I know that.
You can look into some of the smaller ones. Like if you want to, if
what's up and coming, like what's the...
Yeah, I mean, you can look at some of the, when Edmonton gets to the point where it seems unreachable, start looking at the smaller towns outside of it. You can look at Beaumont, you can look at Leduc, Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, Fort Saskatchewan. That's traditionally what happens, is like a larger city. You look at like Toronto, when it becomes unaffordable, what do people start doing if they want to invest in that area? They start looking at, what are some sub-towns that are, relatively close that can achieve similar investment opportunities? The only thing that if you're investing in these smaller cities, you really need to look at the longevity. What's going to create that consistent population demand that's going to help that investment not only look good today, but in 5 years? Because your investment today can look really good, but you need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to last through the ebb and flows of real estate. How many market cycles have you seen?
Many. I've been investing since 2000, right?
So you're going to be, you're going to see like what is great in a hot market. And as Patrick Francie always talks about, like you're a genius in a hot market. Everybody is, but let's plan for what if the market turns. Is your asset still performing, and do you have the ability to exit because it's still an attractive asset, right? So whenever you're investing in these smaller towns, you might see higher cap rates, which you will. You'll see better returns. You'll see lower entry prices. But in 5 years, is that city going to still be there paying you, or are you going to be left with an asset that you cannot sell? Yeah. Right. So it's important to still do your due diligence, because it's very easy to make money in markets like today, but
in which of the up and coming markets, I tend to stay close to a major market. So any secondary or tertiary market that is outside of that's supported by a major market like Edmonton, Calgary, I know that there's going to be growth there because the cities are going to grow out.
Absolutely. And a lot of people have been focusing, on Red Deer as well. I've been invested in Red Deer. I'm still, heavily focused on Edmonton and surrounding cities, surrounding municipalities. Red Deer's pricing is going up, but Red Deer's right between Edmonton and Calgary. So a lot of people like that market too.
Well, they've been talking about that train for years. I keep, there's always whispers of it ever once in a while. One day they'll build it.
One day they'll build. I'm excited for that. That is a boring drive. Edmonton to Calgary is exhausting. It is terrible. If I could just get on my laptop, watch a movie, work, get on a couple Zoom calls, way better.
It's good. Well, Calvin, thank you for coming by. I always want to leave the audience with something inspirational from you. What are some, what's your mantra or something that you live by?
I would say, and anyways, unplanned, completely raw.
Yeah.
Everyone's journey is authentic, and everyone's going to have pitfalls. Everyone's going to have challenges. Everyone's going to wake up and ask themselves, why am I really doing this? Right? Whether it's because they're getting a bunch of tenant phone calls, whether your investor on a deal drops out last minute before you're supposed to close. Everybody has to deal with different versions of adversity. Just know that it's your story and nobody can take that from you. And that adversity will strengthen you as an investor and maybe even put you in a coaching position to help others down the road. So I actually encourage it. Lean into the adversity because it's going to help strengthen you and build character and grit in the long term of your investment journey.
Perfect. That's a great way to end the podcast. Thank you for coming on the pod. Alfonso loves you. We'll see you at the top. Let's go.
Thanks, buddy.
That's great. We made that announcement. Someone must have caught it. Someone must have been listening. Where's the next expand?
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius Podcast, presented in part by Expand Investor Conference, this May 16th to 18th in Edmonton, Alberta. Get your tickets now at wealthgenius.ai/expand, and we'll see you at the top.